What is happening, Metasites? And I'm still in bed trying to recover from chest pains and just extreme stress that I've been dealing with. As I imagine a lot of other guys out there that have been pretty much on the front lines, they've been in the trenches. So shout out to those guys who actually are working away, they're grinding on something. If they're unemployed, my best advice would be to start in your apartments. I mean, if you have time on your hands, if you don't have much money, okay, I understand. Join the club. Right now, I'm about to play a little game, just to ease my thoughts. This is what I do. Some people, they drink or they smoke dope. I don't do any of that junk. I like to play. Sometimes it would be better to play with a friend, but these days nobody really goes to each other's houses anymore, so that's fine. I just gonna do me. And man, oh man, I wish I had this back when I was a kid. Some things that I've never even seen before. They exist. So that's it. If you're waiting on your next opportunity or your big break, sometimes it may not happen. Like you may have a period of like nothing happening, and then all of a sudden something might happen out of the blue. Who really knows? The trick is to remain positive even in times of extreme stress. That's the key. Because I'll tell you something honest. When I go downtown, I don't like to go downtown, but when I do, I just do it to get food and then get the hell out of there. Because guys these days, I see them on the street corners, they're not dealing with their problems in a healthy way at all. Much of it is their fault, but I can't fault them for not having much opportunity. Like I said to people, what's your YouTube channel? They don't have one. They didn't even bother to make anything. You imagine this. Imagine if the rent goes up, like in my case it will, and you don't have anything to fall back on. This is why I was afraid. I trusted people to help me to get out of this situation because I was actually smart. To try to find a compatible woman who might also be in the have the same profession as me. I don't know, something similar. At least somebody who's not an NPC, somebody who actually has. I knew this guy. He actually built his own games. He runs a store in my hometown. He was smart. I went to school with that guy. Turns out there's a lot of guys out there, like that. Maybe if I chose a different profession, I would probably have created something better. I don't know. Maybe I would have made it into the industry. I think, though, to be fair, I think he really did have help. So the thing is that people, they gotta understand is that it's not so much about what you know, but about who you know. But try to make sure that, your circle is airtight, that you have a circle of people that you could trust. And that's the key thing. I don't know who to trust these days because I've given the best of myself to the wrong people, and what do? They threw me under the bus. I'll never forget it. I have stories, absolutely. But this one takes the cake, and I got to be dead serious. Some people in the Christian community, they're in reality, they're no better than most people. Like, I would rather sit down with a guy in the street corner and listen to his story, because chances are, honestly, after what I've seen and heard, some of them are not really entirely stupid. They actually been going through something. And I don't really want to judge, but, there's people, like, they are in a position where, they seem to, be holier than thou. Like, I am so great, and, I am, people, they just, in the Christian community, they just kind of piss me off, because It just drives me nuts when I tell them my story, and then they decide, well, okay, they're not going to help me. They're just going to use me, take my work. That's what people I always do. They don't lend a hand. It's like, imagine a guy treading water in an ocean, and there's a few boats coming by, and people, they just stop to leave a like, a thumbs up and whatever, and then they just sail away. They move on. Who does that? I mean, who does that? If you see a man who's drowning, would you not help him? There's somebody I talked to live stream a few days ago. A woman who has her own ministry. Great. But I told her straight up, Leo, to me, these things are just screens unless people actually want to step in and help. No, people aren't going to do that because I'm a man. And in this world right now, if a man falls, who's going to be there to help him? Honestly, It's like that movie, what's it called? Waterworld with Kevin Costner. Yeah, he sails around the seas, and he is some kind of superhuman Superman. He can dive underwater and do what others can't because he had to adapt. In the movie, he grew gills and he can actually breathe underwater. It's like, sink or swim. If a man falls, like, what does he do? He has to adapt. Otherwise, if not, he's going to die. He'll die. If you happen to be living alone and society abandons you, basically, they don't help, and you don't have friends in your circle, what do you do? Do you really think that I would risk going out to the bars and start paying for people's drinks, like pander to women? I wouldn't do that. That's foolish. Why would I do that? Even if I dressed up in my best, something a woman is never going to appreciate a man these days unless he has money or he's got status. And I got to be realistic. The churches are ruined. They allow LGBTQ filth, and those aren't real churches anymore. So I stay the hell away from them. They help people from India and Africa, Ukraine. We've given more money to those people than our own. And now, in 2026, our economy is tanking. The only sensible way to not beat the system, but to just try and get by, you have to be creative. You got to be inventive. You got to be crafty always. Don't even trust a single person. Like, if you think that people in your circle are going to care about your situation and help you to find, like, for example, a compatible woman, no, they're not going to want to do that. Because why? They don't want to get involved. They think that the reason why you're in this situation is because you deserve to be. And it's shame for these people, because they were supposed to not judge, but they did. They didn't know who I was. I was at the top of my class at one time. I dropped out for good reason. What happens when you give people your time and your energy, and they take you for granted? What happens? I mean, right now I don't have anywhere else to be. I can just stay here and bide my time. Wait for the world to go in deeper into chaos. I've seen all the videos. I know where society is at right now, and it's just sad. I warned my family about the shots. They didn't listen to me, even though I wasn't making money. I had all the knowledge in the world at my fingertips. And then later on, I came to these people online broken, and they don't care. That's a sad story. No one really truly cares about the common man. That's really sad because if by 2030 we're not gonna make it to 2030, I don't think, because I've seen men basically say on YouTube that if if society doesn't care about good men, well, we're just going to walk away and let society crumble. Because men, they've had it. They've had it enough, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them because men, they deserve better, and we're just catering to people in different countries. They'll come and they'll prop up the system, no doubt. And they get like more benefits and more tax write-offs than us because they're from a different country. I don't know. Our country's government it's just corrupt. It's all backwards, screwed up, leaving very little for the rest of us men. I mean, Americans, they're so oblivious, some of them, they don't even understand what is going on in Canada because it doesn't matter to them. In their little worlds, America is all there is, the hell with everyone else. Right? And just because I'm not American, Trump, I don't care about Donald Trump, I don't care about, these other, like Fauci and whatever is happening in the rest of the world, the Epstein files. I've seen thousands of stories that are 10 times worse, okay? Kids, they get kidnapped and they get put into these artificial underground facilities and brainwashing them and telling them that's the real world, like Fallout. If you ever play that game, they were put in a vault deep underground, like they're building cities underground. Do you know about that? Yep, spending billions of dollars, and yet people on the surface, we pay everything just to exist. I've given most of my money just to buy a week's worth of groceries. I use the small carts, and I bought the cheapest food that I could find in Walmart. It still came to $130. I had to pay $3 extra for the bag, and I kept my receipt. That was a smart thing to do. Yeah, and I told them, you know what? I tell these people, listen, in the city, there's really no winning, and the cities are probably a stupid decision to stay there anyways because there's no opportunity to be had because many people are out of jobs. They're sleeping in cars, and it's going to be illegal soon to be homeless. So, the system doesn't make any sense at all. Like the basements, apartments, they're now approaching like $1,000. My rent gone up, and other places too. I can't even afford to move because that's happening everywhere. We can't even afford anything. Why is this the case? We can't even afford to go back to school or buy a used car because boomers are greedy and they just keep on raising the cost of everything. And I tried my best to budget my way out of this rut that I'm in, but how can you budget your way out of it when the budget itself is so small? People cry about, oh, I only got $200 worth of groceries, man. How am I going to be able to survive the week? Dude, I don't want to hear it. I survived on basically ramen noodles, mostly, for a couple of years. It's only by the grace of God that I'm still alive. And no thanks to anyone else because that was a miracle. And who would have cared if I died, really? Who would have noticed in the YouTube world? No one. If something bad happened to me, it's no skin off their plate. They don't really, they care, but only so much. They're not going to go bend over backwards to help a man and put him where he needs to be. He's not going to help him to find good group of people on a plantation. I've tried. I wound up in a gas station, working, slaving away, giving away junk food and beer and cigarettes because I couldn't find a good group of people. And this is what's happening with all the men these days. They don't have a good group of people. The Christian community is dead. The Christian community, there is no community. It's dead. It's broken. We're broken people, and a lot of us men, we're doomed. We're doomed. We're doomed. We're doomed.